Hello, there's been a lot of questions about the insides of this Behringer. When I last took it apart, I only took it apart just to repair a little problem on it. And I didn't really get deep down inside to show people what's actually inside this thing. So this video, we're going to take it apart, you know, get much deeper. Anyway. No time like the present. Screwdriver time. Before you tip this thing on its back, it's probably a good idea to take out the Firewire USB audio interface because it's got these little nodules sticking out. And when you tip the whole thing on its back, it's going to be resting on those two pieces. So we'll always take this piece out. Well, I'm going to take this piece out first. And put the screws with the item that you've taken out. Like so. Now then, as you may have seen in the other video, the way to get into this is by taking off these side panels. So when you've taken the sides off, then we have black screws on the bottom here, all the way along. And then once you've taken out the black screws there, you've got the silver ones across the top here. All these have to come out as well. Now, on the back, there's a row of black screws there as well. So these are going to have to come off. Now, after tugging around for a while, after taking all those screws out, it still wouldn't come out. And there's one in the dead centre underneath that you have to remove. I mean, I removed it last time and totally forgot about it this time. Anyway, this should, if we're lucky, yeah, it feels like it's going to open up now. So, I remember we've got a few leads to play about with. Alright. Okay, I'm going to put it on its back to do this actually. I think it'd be easier. Put it on its back and split it apart this way. Aha! Ooh, very pretty. Right, what do I need to disconnect to get in here? Some of these leads are connected by glue and hot snot. So they've got to be pulled apart. I'm just trying to split the top from the bottom so we can... No. You swine. Okay. Plug here. We can get that one out. As long as we cut this glue away first. Alright, how far are we? Take this one off. Okay, what have we got left? We've got two more wires. Okay, this one's down. Oh, that's strange, that one has no glue on it. Why? Right, I've taken out all the connecting leads from the top to the bottom. So, we'll start with the bottom. Get this out of the way. Nice thin mixer there. Back in a minute. So this is the 32 input version. 8 per one of these boards. 2 stacked there, 2 stacked there. But I want to basically get to the bottom board here, which is the main processor. That's got all the magic on it. So what I'm going to do is, to get to this bottom board so we can have a good look down onto it, I've got to take off these two top boards. But to do that, unfortunately, I've got to take off 2 screws. 2 screws, 32 sets of screws there, just to release the plugs. Oh well, no time like the present. I won't make you wait while I go through them all. I'll just... So, I've taken out all the screws of the plugs at the back there. And now... one problem after another. The boards are on spacers to stack them up. So we're going to lift one of these out totally. Hey! Not a lot on the bottom there. As you see, it's just an identical board times 4. Sorry, there's 8 inputs on each board and 4 lots of boards. But let's get these boards out so we can get underneath. So this is where the good stuff is. Right, let's get in and have a look inside there. There's a couple of analog devices on board here. They're ADSP21371 Shark processors, digital audio interface devices. There's a little Xilinx here, Xilinx FPGA, Xilinx Spartan. I think, let's see, that's XC3514000A. Whatever that's doing, looks very nice. I've looked underneath the board. There's nothing underneath the board, so this is the magic. This is where it all happens. I've just noticed on the 8 input board here, there's a Cirrus Logic analog to digital converter on board. That's 8 channels, and it'll run 192K 24-bit. I was under the impression that this only ran at 44K, but maybe my brain's turned to mush and I don't know what I'm talking about, which is probably the case. Little Atmega Atmel 8A, Atmega 8A on there, and these are all the little digital ins and outs. You know, all the famous Midas magic going off in here somewhere. Now, coming to the output boards, again, there's 8 outputs per board. There's 2 on this one. And again, you notice the little Cirrus Logics, and that's the CS4385. That's digital to analog converters. Again, 192K 8-channel digital analog converters. Direct stream, digital mode, non-decimating volume controls, and all voodoo and black magic and witchcraft that goes off inside that little thing there. Very nice. Let's get into the power supply. This bit underneath here, the angle piece, will be the fan, which will most likely draw the air across the power supply because it's got the holes in that end and the exit to the fan underneath here. Mind you, I'm saying all that, I ain't even took it off yet to see if that's correct. But looking at the shape of it, that's the most likely thing that's going to do. So bit of Friday afternoon work there. Somebody wanted to get home early. Sort of hit it with a hammer to make it fit. Anyway, there's the fan. It's a very quiet fan on this power supply. You hardly notice it. Except when you've got it on a stand with your feet underneath and you wonder why your right kneecap is freezing cold. It's because the fan's blowing directly onto you. Very nicely made. Alright, so this is your mains coming in. There's must be a filter in here. Mains filter in there. There's your standard choke and what have you. So all your power regulators across here. yeah, they've really made a very nice job of that. Lots and lots of ribbon cable outputs coming here. It's going all over the board with obviously 5 volts, 10 volts, 12 volts, 24 volts for the motor, voltage for the lamp, etc. This box here, of course, is empty. There's nothing in there. That just contained the USB firewire. When that slots in and marries up to this connector here. It's a bit inefficient to have a fan drawing air across a power supply, but then having a gaping big hole across the top there, because the fan's going to be pulling a lot of air from there. So whilst I'm putting this back together, I might as well close up a bit of this space here, and that way you're going to force the fan to pull the air through the inside of the power supply rather than through these great big letterbox holes in the top there. Just a bit of attention to detail, Behringer. Now we're going to lose this bit and bring the top in and have a look, see what's underneath in the control gear. Right, we've done the bottom, now we're going to go onto the top and have a look inside there. You've already seen in my previous video, we've already had one of these sections off with the 8 flying faders on there. I don't really think there's a heck of a lot of exciting stuff underneath here. It's all just going to be switch gear, logic, you know, sending data backwards and forwards, and obviously the colour screen is inside there, but not a terrible lot of fantastic stuff, but let's have a look anyway. 6 mute switches down here. I hope I'm keeping track of all these plugs. That. Can we have it, please? Thank you so much. Yeah, there you go. Not terribly exciting. There's your 6 mute select switches. I like all these little modules because they can obviously reconfigure a lot of this mixer and make different variations of it. You've got the Behringer with the 16 channel, the Behringer with the 32 channel, you know, they're making lots of different mixers now, and I bet you they're using a lot of these same boards in them, just different configurations. There we go. Now these are nice little boards. You've got those continuous rotary encoders here that go on and on forever. Another 4 sets of miniature LCD displays, and you know, they'll change colour underneath and what have you. Lots of nice little switches everywhere. I have noticed using this, sometimes the switches feel a bit, you know, like they don't want to go down very well. They're not the greatest design. Well, obviously they've got to make this to a budget, and I think they're doing really well for the price that they sell them for. Because there's a lot for your money on one of these mixers, that's for sure. So what should we do? Just stack all these up in a big pile somewhere, maybe? I don't know. And then guess how it all goes back together afterwards, like a giant jigsaw puzzle. This board here, oh, pretty. Oh. Now you can see where all your biscuit crumbs go. They all sit on these little faders here. Crumbs everywhere, dirt. Oh well. Bits of hair and things. If you have a look on the Behringer website, you'll see they're selling these flying faders in packs of 5 already, which kind of makes you think, what's the reliability of these? 5 at a time they're selling? Are they expecting them to start going? I mean, they look and they feel like good quality. So why are they selling them already? They're not the same ones as they've got in the BCFs, the MIDI controllers. So they're obviously made for these. Now, if you wanted to change one of these, it's only a matter of unsoldering 4 pins there, 4 pins there, and then unplugging the motor. And yeah, it looks like you've got a sort of earth point as well to hold the fader into place to give it a bit of stiffness, and then that whole fader would come out. But I really wouldn't want to be changing too many of these. I mean, they feel like they're going to last for years. But yeah, just a curious point. Why are they selling spares on the Behringer website? Do they want idiots like me taking these things apart? Who knows? Right, we're at the part now where we're putting everything all back together again. And there's a lot of cables jumping backwards and forwards. Fortunately, most of them have got different amounts of pins on them, so they can only fit on the right socket. But if you do get lost, before you take something like this apart, it's always handy if you get your mobile phone camera or something and just take a few snaps of the cables. And then if you sit here thinking, well, where the hell does that go? I've got 3 sockets down there and only 1 plug. Or which way round did it go if it hasn't got a little key on the back? Then at least you can have a look through your pictures and it will give you a clue where everything goes. I mean, I always tend to have a few screws left over sometimes. I've got a box full of spare screws and whatever. But I'm getting better as I get older of putting all the screws back in. But anyway, this is a boring part, so I'm going to cut this out of the video as well, so you don't have to sit watching me scratching my head. So I'll have a last look inside the Behringer before I put it back together again. Hoping, look, I've got all my fingers crossed that this is going to work again. I've taken this apart for you lot. So, with any luck, I'm going to marry this up. And before I screw it all back together again, and waste my time, I'm going to fire it up, give it some electricity. Strange it doesn't fit now. Right, that side's on. Okay. It's not the end of the world yet. Now, before I screw it all back together again, because I could forget something. Please work. Please. Yes! It's still alive after all that. And it's remembered all its settings. That's why I had them set up on the effects earlier. Right. Okay, so it's still running. That's the second time I've taken it apart. I'm not going to do it a third time. We've seen everything there is to see inside this thing, really. Now I'm going to put all the sides back on, stick it back into my music room, and just make sure everything's running okay. So, back with you in a moment after I've put all the screws back in. So, the mixer lives another day. All seems to be working again. So I've not left out any cables and I've not saved any screws. I think all the screws went back in this time. But thanks for watching.